All right, everyone, welcome to today's session, our Microsoft Copilot overview. I want to thank you all for joining in and welcome. My name is Jada Cheek. I am an Evolve 365 learning strategist, and I am going to guide you through today's session. We have quite a few things to cover, but we want to offer this amazing opportunity to welcome everyone in. I've had an amazing opportunity to work with a number of different organizations on Copilot as it has slowly run its course to become available. And I'm excited to share with you all the features that we have available today. So we have a great group of people here from Planet supporting us to help you all with any questions, any comments that you may have in the chat. So don't be afraid to use the chat feature and functionality that is going to be where you can find support during this session. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, this is a recorded session as well. So do be mindful as you are going to note that you will have this available to you at the end of this session, the presentation and the recording as well. So I have learned a lot, as I have stated, about this journey and this process of AI and Copilot being available to us, and it's easily accessible and just being a part of its journey. So I want you all to know that while I'll teach you some new tricks, share with you some things that you might already know, the idea is that you are being able to use this in your workflow and that you will be able to personalize your own experience and find some things that just ultimately work for you. And I hope that you will see the innovative tool to its overall capabilities. And I want to remind you to ultimately be patient because in the GCC High experience, we know that it is currently growing, it is currently in development, and ultimately, we want to have that flexibility for us to explore and to not be afraid, but instead just have patience as it continues to innovate and we continue to dive straight in. So let's go ahead and first up, get into our agenda. We're going to start things off first with focusing on a quick overview of what Copilot is and make sure we're all on the same page with our expectations of AI and Copilot's capabilities. Then we're going to talk about the access of Copilot and explore the interface and navigation features available. We'll have some live demonstration with some prompting in different use cases. And then we'll conclude with some additional tips and tricks that you can try. And like I said, it doesn't say it in here at the end, there's Q&A, but I want to definitely leave time for questions if you want to hold those at the end. But as a reminder, feel free to ask questions throughout the session as well. If there's anything that I might briefly go over too fast, feel free to share that in the chat that you need me to reiterate anything or expand on anything at all that you see and note. As we kick things off, I know that we do have the opportunity to get to know your experience. I believe we want to know a little bit about you. So as we tell you guys about being safe with AI, there is going to be a poll that eventually pops up. So I want to start things off by telling you to make sure you just have this opportunity to know that we're trying to achieve many things with AI capabilities, and AI is very much a buzzword that you'll constantly hear. And so with that in mind, there's many different tools in 365, and Copilot is just one, and the market is popular. The tools are popular. They're, just constantly growing. It's evolutionary. So they're allowing us to do some things that we kind of just want to take off our plate. They're allowing us to summarize lengthy documents, create new and professional content for our teams or for our customers, and support us across almost every step of our existing workflows. So these tools can provide existing support that you might need, assistance with insights, help you with rephrasing and recreating content. So I do want to emphasize how important it is that we use approved AI services because of how these tools are developed. There's a real risk of unintentionally exposing your personal and confidential data. And if we don't be mindful of that. You just put yourself at risk. But the good news is that with Copilot, you are limiting that. You are taking that away. When you're signed in with your work credentials, you are ensuring your data is protected, integrity, and everything applies the same enterprise grade data protection you are already used across your other Microsoft application applies also with Copilot. And so that is something I just want to emphasize, because the main question here is everything that I'm doing safe? Is it protected? Is it secure? And I want to confidently say yes, as long as you are signed in to your work account using your email, your organization's email and password that you typically are most likely signed in with this for this meeting. So same way you get into your other information, such your other apps and organization information, that is going to apply to Copilot as well. That is the shortcut to that information. And if there are further questions about that, please definitely ask, because we want you to be comfortable and confident, because during this presentation, I encourage you to give things a try and follow along with me. So first up is letting you know what you might experience as you get acquainted with your AI tool. And there are going to be, generally speaking, any generative AI might have two main characteristics that we call out. And the first is hallucinations, things that you might notice look a little off to you. And this is a term used when an AI tool produces responses that sound very convincing, but are incorrect or inaccurate. Because AI is a generative tool, it's based on patterns and what it has learned from the data it was trained on. So sometimes it'll pull together what it thinks you want, and it may not fully align with the level of accuracy you expect. And that's why we ask that you come with some level of caution, and you also come with your own knowledge of critical thinking. We want you to have that human approach, hands-on approach. That's why you should be reviewing, refining, and looking into your responses that Copilot is going to produce for you. So that's why we are still a critical part in the process. We're not asking for you to just say, take the word and run with it. You are the expert in your field. You know much more, and you understand the scope, the subject matter. That's the reason why you're asking the questions for Copilot. So it's always important to double check and just validate what's being created. The other element to be aware of is change. As you know, like I said, this is an innovative tool, and you probably noticed this already, but AI, more than any of our other software or tools, is evolving very quickly. It's consistently improving, and today's experience will be the least advanced version you'll ever use. Because of that, we need to maintain a growth mindset and be just willing to adapt as new features roll out and changes are introduced. We're going to see this constantly. So just be patient with the technology and just be patient with yourself. I know some people are perfectionists and they want to make sure that they are doing everything correct. What I think the saying goes is dotting your I's and crossing your T's. And I think this isn't that moment just yet. We're not there yet with Copilot and GCC High. You have time. So take this time to just practice. It's completely normal for parts of the journey to feel a little stressful at times, but we're going to figure out what works for us, and I want to show you where it's at today. So what I also hope you just take away is that from those changes is that Microsoft and their developers are behind the scenes and taking your feedback seriously, and they are constantly advancing the tool better to meet your needs. And I think they have done a wonderful job. I'm not sure how closely you all are paying attention, but I would like to be vocal and say that through this rollout, they've done a great, significant process in just making sure that they show that they are putting their best foot forward and trying to advance those changes and hearing what the people are saying works and doesn't work, because this is a tool that many people are wanting, but hey, they want it in the correct way and they hear that need and demand. And so it takes a little time, but ultimately they know that the need is there and the want is there. So with that all in mind, we want to talk about your data and what is going to happen. So when we talk about our data, I know that for many of you, This is a significant area of concern. And so we just want to emphasize that you're signing with your organization credentials and you're automatically receive enterprise data protection. What it's going to look like in Copilot chat, it's going to be a green badge icon. And I'll point that out when we get further into the demonstration. But I just want to start acknowledging that early. And that is an indicator to help us realize and recognize that we are protected and actively protected during our conversations with Copilot, saying, hey, while you're actively asking Copilot these questions, while you're actively sharing your data and attaching documents or using Copilot to showcase its initiative and prompt responses, it is protecting you while you are in the environment. And what this means is that once you've signed in, your data is encrypted and not accessible to anyone else. So your information isn't being shared. And some conversations may be saved in a personal history area. So you can reference your work when you are done, meaning you can refer back to it yourself. But that access is personal and exclusive to you. So your data is not being used to train the underlying models. It's not going to go anywhere else for someone else to check out or contribute to the development of the tool itself. In other words, like I said, the data stays with you and within your organization. And this allows us to confidently use Copilot with more sensitive data or topics, and ultimately get more value and efficiency out of our day. So the idea that you aren't worrying about prying eyes and you are able to focus on yourself and just get the best use out of the tool is ultimately what we want to look at and have you focus on. And so GCC High has some additional security measures in place, as it should, and that are very specialized. And the environment is intended for defense, industrial base, and organizations handling controlled unclassified information as CUI or other defense-related data. It's the most secure environment Microsoft offers for M365 with zero tolerance for data exfiltration. So if your organization handles CUI is subject to DFAR 7012 or ITAR, as you know, those are abbreviations, or works with the Department of Defense, you're almost certainly in GCC High. If you're unsure, look for these clues. And like I said, we have those clues that we'll go through and show. And your contract mentions compliance with ITAR or CMMC. And your Microsoft 365 tenant is labeled GCC High. Again, your IT or compliance team can confirm this quickly. Ultimately, the idea is that all your data resides in the U.S. sovereign cloud environment. Only screen U.S. citizens manage the infrastructure. Compliance standards here are the strictest. The environment ensures zero tolerance for data leaving U.S. boundaries, making it essential for defense and national security work. And ultimately, just what this means for you is that Microsoft features roll out slower than those we see in commercial environments or advertised. And so what you might see advertised by Microsoft as, hey, is a new feature rollout, and that Copilot can, for example, you can attach however many documents and unlimited work and web capabilities that is going to be available for those in other environments, but it might not be available in GCC High just yet. So some features are going to be slow to roll out, but like I said, we are going to show you, as always, what capabilities are available to you. So please note that you might be looking to do certain things because you've seen an advertisement, you've seen someone else, or you know a friend, colleague in another place with those capabilities, and that is why they might not be in the same environment as you. So just to throw that disclaimer out there, and I want to take this moment to slow down and ask, is there any form of clarity that we can provide you all around or about this environment and what we have going on? Okay. And as I said, that's just a spiel of your environment in GCC high and ultimately what its security commitments are. In addition, we've began to roll out that poll I see appearing about what you know about Copilot Chat and its capabilities, and how familiar you are. Feel free to participate, share with us your experience, and we are going to keep going forward. If you have any questions, don't forget the chat is wide open for you to give us your questions, comments, or concerns. And so we want to make sure you know where to find your Copilot, so that you are able to sign in. Right now, you're able to navigate and find Copilot available to you by accessing it online and signing in through portal.office.us. And so ultimately, you want to sign in. And when you are signed in, you will see what is the Copilot chat along with other features and navigation availability. The main thing I want to call out is in the step 2 directions is that green badge icon, but it is also going to appear on your screen when you are in the M365 landing page on the top right corner as a badge icon. Um, Ultimately, you want to make sure one of two things, that you see the badge icon and that you also see your name in the lower left corner. That just means you're signed into your correct account with your work credentials. And then that badge icon is going to confirm that you are in a secure, data protected enterprise environment. And if you, for whatever reason, do not see that icon, definitely please contact your IT department, because we want to make sure that this does apply to you. As you can see, it's a cautionary tale that if you are not signed in with your work account, enterprise data protection will not apply. And to the good stuff. Copilot Chat introduces a very new and different type of workflow. Many of us may be used to the search engine experience, where we are trying to take a really big, complicated thought and kind of shrink it up down into 4 or 5 keywords. That approach does work well for traditional search engines, where the goal was to match kind of specific terms, or maybe you're looking for something in particular. With Copilot, the mindset is kind of shift. I want you to think of a conversational manner. Typically, we say think of you possibly having a conversation with a colleague, having a conversation with an intern. You can add more context. You can add more detail to your conversation. And it actually works better when you do. This allows you to ask questions, make specific requests. We want you to think of something that you can flow through, and start creating content that is tailored to what you're actively working on. It's going to open the door for deeper explanation, and better insights, and maybe you're learning for new tools, because the goal is that eventually Copilot is going to connect to multiple M365 products and help you just flow throughout. So all of that becomes much more accessible through the conversational style of engagement. So once you gather the approach of being able to flow through conversational approach with Copilot, you're going to create the best results in being able to get those unique outputs with Copilot Chat. So as we mentioned, there are several iterations of AI technology, but amongst them, we want to know why we should be using Copilot. What is so special about it? Ultimately, Copilot is pulling from some of the most powerful AI models available today and leveraging them within a secure environment. And that's super important. I don't want to have to worry about prying eyes, like I said. And it is still using those highly trained and well-developed models, but it's integrating them directly into the tools and content you've already worked with. So then I have my second reason. I want that knowledge of transparency. Copilot not only provides responses, but also cites its sources. I want to know where this information is coming from. And so this added transparency supplies us with additional insights. And every once in a while, if I don't see that come through automatically, it's very easy to simply prompt Copilot, like I said, to keep the conversation going, to say, hey, provide me with those details. Where did you get that information from? And then there's a no knowledge cutoff. There's the opportunity where Copilot has access to search the web. I don't want to call out the I do want to call out that some organizations have disabled this feature. So you may be working only with a foundational model, which is still very powerful and does get updated as well. So what I'm saying is this is at the discretion of your organization if they are going to allow you to access the web in order to search and use Copilot in that realm. However, if web access is enabled in your environment, Copilot isn't limited to the information it was originally developed with. So it can perform real-time web searches and bring in more current, up-to-date information, which can especially be helpful when you're researching new topics or looking for the latest details. So I just want to explain that because, like I said, I do encourage you to follow along with me today. But if you note that there are some differences between you searching for items in my demo environment, that might be one. And lastly, I just want to say that Copilot will not share or use your prompts, like I said, or files to train the AI model. All data remains private to your organization. Copilot chat history is stored securely in your Microsoft 365 account and is fully under your organization's retention control, just like an email or Teams chat. No one at Microsoft or OpenAI can see it, and it's not used to improve the AI tool at all. So that enterprise data protection badge indicated by the green shield is Copilot's way of honoring your privacy, security, and compliance policy across the board. So with that in mind, some things to note because we are going to slowly but closely be approaching our demo environment, and I want you to get to know what to look for. When we are in our Copilot chat environment, there are a few call outs. The navigation is going to have what is on the left hand side, an area for you to click through. And so you have what is the first item, a conversations tab. And that conversations tab is actually going to be a drop down of your conversation chat history. As you begin to use Copilot, it is going to store those prompts and previous conversation history that you are going to see and have. And so the conversation chat history allows you to refer back to them. And that left hand menu is also going to have what is a searchable option for you to go in and find the chats using keywords and re-enter those existing conversations that you previously had. Across in the center of the screen is going to be the prompt text box. The prompt text box is going to allow you to enter your prompts and ask questions and start conversations with Copilot. You'll also see that you have the plus symbol directly to the left of the prompt text box. And this allows you to add documents and file attachments. And this enables you to reference files from your OneDrive or SharePoint by granting Copilot permission or uploading files directly from your device. And then you have the blue send prompt icon, and this allows you, as you have typed a prompt, to submit your prompt and receive a response from Copilot, continuing the conversation flow. You'll notice that it only highlights blue once you start typing. So if you notice like, oh, where's the icon or why doesn't the icon highlight? You do have to have some sort of prompt or words within the text box for it to appear. There are other icons and drop downs on the far left, but when we get into the live demo, I'll go a deep dive into explaining those. For now, the main thing is that I want you to know in the top right corner, as I pointed out, you are going to have that enterprise data protection badge that appears in green. And then right next to it is going to be start a new chat button, which is going to give you the opportunity to always just start over, clear your conversation and start a new chat when changing topics, helping prevent unrelated content from mixing up. This is good when you are looking, like I said, to possibly start over, refine your content, because there's nothing wrong with that as you are cycling through and trying to get comfortable with how to use Copilot in its conversation manner. So 3 easy steps as you've seen the layout and how we're going to flow through this. We want to be able to use the text box to enter our prompt. And like I said, the idea is that you might have something in mind of how you want to use this or what you've been working on. And I hope I give you an idea of how it can flow together. So you want to be detailed with the prompts If you would like Copilot to source information from a reference file, you'll have that option to add the content using that plus symbol or using your / key from your keyboard. That is going to be a quick shortcut that I'll mention throughout. And then, of course, wherever Copilot is pulling information from, it is going to give you that opportunity to see and validate your sources where Copilot is going to get its information from. As it responds, you'll be able to validate underneath reviewing the response. And then at any point, like I said, you have two options. We want to continue the conversation if it's engaging, if it's purposeful, if it's something that we have the opportunity to refine and keep going, or at any point start a new conversation. You'll use the Copilot chat icon in the top right corner, which I call as a little speech bubble, to start something new. But just having the idea of where everything is in terms of flowing through with 3 easy steps and an idea of what you want to do, that is how we're going to flow through this just to kick things off. Checking in to see if there's any questions about what we've discussed so far. And I think the chat looks handled well. No need for me to hop in there. Then the Bing service is not in GCC high environment, though, right? What is and I think it's Andrew. Okay, it does say Andrew. Okay, Andrew, I just want to double check Bing as in the search web engine. Is that correct? Or was Jennifer? I saw you come off mute. Were you getting ready to respond to that?
Yeah, I'm gonna respond into the chat.
Okay. Andrew, you let us know if you have more questions. I want to keep going. I'll let Jim respond to that. And I think we touched on that briefly somewhere in this presentation, but you let us know if we don't get that answered for you. So to keep this going and to kick things off, we're going to head into our demo environment. As I said, I'm just going to go into my M365 office area, and I'm going to open up what is my overview, and I actually want to give you all a brief walkthrough just to show you some items that weren't mentioned in the overview, as we have a little bit of extra little time. I think I can speed walk through it. So first up is me just showing you guys the search area. So the search area is actually going to be a tool that you can use. What I want to point out is a lot of times people are like, what do I use the search area for? So search is going to be a little shortcut. It is very practical. Search helps users find recently accessed Microsoft 365 content. So it is in comparison to you using your OneDrive or you using your File Explorer on your desktop. And so the idea is that you are able to be in a one-stop shop. So if you are using Copilot, instead of you having to leave Copilot and go to OneDrive, leave Copilot area and maybe go to your File Explorer, you can instead just click the search tab right above it, because chat is where we're going. We're headed to next, as you know. But in a one-stop shop, you just have search right above it. And in this search area, you have the option, to just quickly, briefly go through and flow through and navigate to your apps, files that you already have permission to open, or recent activity. And I just want to point that out. I just have my cursor in this search area, and you can see here, I have a few files that I am able to access, and I am able to go in, type in some brief words that might come up, and anything that is, like I said, connected to me and I have permissions or access to, they are going to go ahead and appear. Just to showcase, briefly scrolling down, quick access area of recent, shared, and favorites, being able to quickly showcase how they operate. It is just a shortcut for you. If I was working on something earlier and just needed to get back to it quickly, search is going to be perfect for that. And across the way, you do have some options to filter these out. So as you can see, I have quite a few mix of files, Word documents, Excel, and PowerPoint. And maybe I want to sort these by type, and I only want to see my Excel files, and now I can only see those. Maybe I even want to sort this by only showing more filter options. And it says, hey, type. It even says location, meaning attachments, cloud files. You even have the option of looking for persons, because as you know, we have the options of items that are shared with us, items that are owned by us. And as you can see, I'm collaborating with a colleague here. So anything that's in my recent worked on with Larissa currently being narrowed down and navigated to. Just that one item under here looks like we had a meeting, and now I can see that it is there for my review, a project update sitting here for me to go back and review that video. So just something to go ahead and know that it is there. It's a shortcut, and that might be why you would use the search area instead of you going all the way to your OneDrive or choosing to use File Explorer. So if you have any questions or want more details about how the search operates, please feel free to ask. We're going to use the left navigation area now to click onto our chat area. One thing I also want to point out is while I'm using this left navigation area, there is a smaller icon to collapse this navigation screen. And I know sometimes people like to play with that, and they like a full view, or they like a expanded version, or same thing, they like to expand the full navigation or collapse it. That is going to be the icon in which you can do so, depending on how you want your view to look. So now that we've moved on to chat, as you can see, it looks exactly how we saw in our presentation. You have the chat area. And from the chat area, you can see that we have a lot of the similarities across the way. We have what is the option for me to choose how I want to decide my responses in terms of Copilot to generate. Typically, it's going to be on auto, but you do have the option to choose quick responses, meaning you want quick responses and answers right away, or you want think deeper, as in Copilot to generate longer processes that might give an analytical response and a little bit of critical thinking. Next to it is going to be that start a new chat icon that we talked about, and then that enterprise data protection badge to let us know that we are securely locked in, signed in properly into our environment. And then we have what is that ellipsis icon, which is just going to be allowing us to get a shortcut to the library and recent pages tab, which is also available to us on the left-hand side, which we'll go back to, and then settings as well. But what we came here for today is this center box, our text box here. And as you know, we have the text box, which allows us to begin inserting our prompts. And also, as you can see, once I start typing, then I'll get that opportunity to go ahead and send off my response. I do actually want to kick things off strong before we continue to talk about the navigation page of this. I actually want to collaborate with you guys. In the chat, I'm going to drop 3 options. Feel free to try them out with me if you have a little time where you're following along. But these are some icebreaker prompts. I would suggest you try number 2 or number 3 if you are a part of, because we've already started the day. But I'm going to use number 1 for my example. And so these are just icebreaker prompts that you might use at the beginning of your workday to possibly get things started. So if you're like, hey, my day's just started and I kind of want to kick things off, what might I do? And as you know, in GCC High, Copilot is not connected to your Outlook. It's not connected to your Teams. It can't pick up on your meetings and things like that. But we still have the capabilities to give Copilot a few insights with just a quick, brief 2-minute conversation. So as you can see here, I took that first prompt that I just shared with you all in the chat, and I said, hey, Copilot, help me plan my workday. Ask me 3 questions to understand my priorities. And what I like about this is, 1, it's showing the conversational workflow, demonstrating how Copilot is now acting as a thinking partner. It's kind of generating to me what I need to focus on. And it says, hey, absolutely, Jada, I can help you shape a focused, realistic plan. And it's giving me now narrowing down what I might have going on. So, what are the top two, three things you must accomplish today? And do you have any fixed meetings or time bound commitments? And I know I might have some busy folks like, hey, that's a hard X. I'm jumping from meeting to meeting, Jada. But, you know, three questions. Now it's saying, I like number three. Let's prioritize these. What do you consider to be low, medium, or high? Because I want to be realistic. Not everything's super important. So if you could narrow some things down, what would that be? Well, like I said, the idea is that I want to continue this conversation. And I'm being realistic. This is actually what I'm planning to do after I hop off of here with you guys. I have about two or three things that I need to wrap up for the day. So after this 1 p.m. meeting, I am flexible to complete an outline for a customer on M365 accessibility. And I want that done by the end of the day and draft some GCC High Copilot content for more webcasts. So with that being said, what I want to point out to you is that I'm including some specifications and I'm also not including some details. I'm leaving out some information, but I want to see how Copilot operates because the idea is that we're trying to reinforce that Copilot has the capabilities to ask clarifying questions and not just give a bunch of answers. So when you deliver your own prompt and give Copilot the opportunity, you want to put yourself in the position to just give Copilot the opportunity to position itself in your footprint. Give Copilot a role. Who should Copilot understand? So it looks like Copilot is trying to pick up and analyze one, what time schedule I'm on, and also time zone. That is very considerate because I didn't give that information. So there are little things to consider, but all in all, just jumping as it is briefly analyzing what I might do for the day and taking some things into consideration, it is giving me a brief breakdown. I like this as a thought to start my day or a thought to pick up, as you can see, for me in the middle of my day. These are little ideas for you, all to kind of just capture where you might be in terms of managing your time and trying to get a practical idea. What I will point out is also with the other prompt that I shared with you, you can see that the second one is asking Copilot to, hey, create a checklist. Um, that's good if you want some structure. It works even without having access to your meetings, as we talked about. Like I said, structure and organization and just immediate usefulness. And then with the output of this, I also now have a timeline. I have the choice to consider whether I want to use this, but now I have an idea of where to make best use of my time and how to organize the items that I considered priority for my day. So even with the idea of Copilot not being able to access my calendar, I was still able to give them the information I wanted to share about what's happening in my day and in my calendar, and then get an idea of how to prioritize my schedule in order to get some best use out of my time and make sure that it is managed wisely. Are there any questions on how I just briefly was able to get that management shared with Copilot in terms of going in and just sharing the little details that I had? All right, cool. So far, looks like we're good. And I'm going to go ahead and use the start a new chat in the top right, as I just wanted to break the ice and show how Copilot is definitely going to be a shortcut to just kicking things off, even at the beginning of or middle of your day when you're in the midst of a conversation. So now that I've gone ahead, started something with Copilot, and we're back, We want to go ahead and see, all right, I'm not just starting my day started, and maybe I need to get creative. There's other things I need to do, but I'm not sure what else I want to do. Right below the text box is actually going to be some innovative ideas called your prompt gallery. And that prompt gallery is going to be available to you. You can see that they show you a brief preview of just 3 items, but you can choose see more. And when you scroll down, they have quite a few options, but you can click the prompt gallery for a full list and view of suggestions. And so the prompt gallery is a overview of items. And so the prompt gallery, what it does is show you different categories, whether it be task, whether it be um, different items that basically are organized to enhance your skill level. It's like a get started. You can choose task, create, catch up, learn, and they're going to narrow down a search to basically give you ideas of how you might use Copilot in different areas. And while it also has this area of um, sections you might use, it also does have a smaller category of job type. Like I said, GCC High is currently rolling out. So right now we don't have a bunch of departments available, and we know they're like, oh, it's not hard to create job types, but we want to make sure that they are specifically prioritized and very well aligned with what you might see in your day to day. So with that being said, just be mindful that they are going to be more coming. But you can go ahead and select these and try these out. I will say, go through, scroll, see which ones apply. You can also edit these and make these your own and personalize them. Not only are they suggestive, but there's also going to be a area called your prompts, where you can save your own prompts that you create and have them as your own. So with that in mind, we're going to come back to the Copilot prompt gallery because we're going to create our own, and we're going to have the opportunity to save them. The last 2 items to cover from this area is just going to be conversations. And so on the left-hand side, of the navigation area, you saw the conversations, which is going to be your chat history. As you know, we just previously had a conversation with Copilot, and we asked Copilot to help us plan our workday. And so you can see that if I wanted to pick up where I left off with this conversation, it's available here. And I would be able to go ahead and scroll down, review this information, and get this conversation picked back up and go ahead and start. Right below where I opened up this conversation chat history on the left is an all conversations area. And the all conversations area also has the capabilities for me to search conversations that I've previously had by specific words. I'll type in maybe, let's see, scope didn't work, but let's go with project. Project's a typical word we see, and you can see that it takes me all the way back to January 28th, that I was asking questions about a project, and it looks like I was asking Copilot to help me draft a project. Maybe their word create comes up. Looks like just on the 14th, I also had a prompt that was asking to create brief talking points about something else. So you have the option to search through. Copilot is going to go ahead and hold those prompts for quite some time. This is a demo environment that was recently started, so it doesn't go all the way back, but it does go back quite some time into the previous year as well. You are able to hover and discover over these. You are able to click on them. And when you do, you have the option to rename them. So if this is something that you want to constantly reuse, reopen, and refine and use, you could. So that might be a reason for renaming the prompt. In addition to, you have the option to delete the prompt. I want you to be mindful that the moment you choose to delete the prompt, you are choosing to remove it forever. There is no trash or recycle in which you'll be able to retrieve it. So please be mindful when you choose to delete an item out of the all conversations area. The last item is just that I want to show you is going to be your library, where it is going to be the pages area. And so what you need to note is that you are able to use the pages to generate content, and you are also going to be able to access any content that you created from a Copilot chat that you've had. The pages is going to be an area that you might use to store text, bullets, summaries, explanations that Copilot chat may have generated, and that you just want to reference back to that was originally created from the chat. It doesn't preserve any links or any files, but it does preserve the conversation and the chat. I'll show you how to use that momentarily, but let's go ahead and go back into our Copilot chat area and pick up a good conversation to showcase what we might do here. So since we've been in conversation with Copilot and we know that we have some capabilities to do, we're going to go ahead and let Copilot get us started with the idea of being able to make a request. So, as you know, we have the capability of asking Copilot to take on the roles that we want it to do. And so we want Copilot to be very specific and very detailed, as I expressed to you guys when we asked Copilot to do certain things. And so in this instance, I want to share with you a very detailed prompt. I am going to go ahead and copy and paste this for you to review, and forgive the box isn't big enough, but I'm going to read it aloud. Assume you're an IT director who specializes in cybersecurity. We are working on creating a BYOD, which is a bring your own device policy for the organization. We want to allow employees to use their personal devices for work, but we need to ensure data security and compliance with company standards. Can you help me draft professional BYOD policy that includes sections on eligibility, security requirements, and acceptable use? So with that in mind, I've now created this lengthy prompt, but we want to make sure that we've included a lot of details. So I've made sure that Copilot knows, hey, I'm making a request. There's a goal in mind. We have the position of who we are. I'm an IT director. I am looking to, I specialize in cybersecurity. This is going to allow employees. So that is my audience. And the overall goal is to help me draft a professional BYOD. With that in mind, I don't have any additional information to give Copilot just yet. We want Copilot to create. So we're going to go ahead and press enter on our keyboard, or you're going to go ahead and choose your arrow to send this information to Copilot and allow Copilot to do its thing. When Copilot is doing that, we've now given it what we call a persona. So that is who Copilot is acting as. They have the opportunity to assume this role. They have the opportunity to now know the task that it is being actioned to complete, and it is going to use the information and background knowledge to create this idea. Of course, eventually the idea is that you guys are going to add more information and have your own details and examples to include, in which I'm going to add on, because the idea is that Copilot works better when we add information. So you can see that after it is analyzed, it says absolutely, and it's created this purposeful information here for my review. As you can see, because I've had less details about my organization, there looks like there's quite a few details that I'll need to fill in. As you can see, it says insert date. I noticed that it doesn't even have the title of my organization, and some of those details I'll have to go back in and possibly add in myself. As you can see, because Copilot doesn't have anything to go off of, as I scroll on down, it's still generating. I can note that I'll probably also need to check on the information and the content and the review of where this information is being pulled from, as we talked about previously, you always want to double check where the information has came from. The idea is that we're going to double check that also has Copilot pulled enough information for me to consider this to be included. Is there anything else that I can add on? And it is. I can look through this now and see that there might be some information that I need to possibly ask Copilot to add or adjust. And so I am going to go ahead and continue this prompt. Once Copilot finishes and it adds in all the details that it needs, we're going to go ahead. With that being said, I'm going to go ahead and get that ready to load up. And this one's pretty lengthy today. Copilot wants to be a chatty Cathy, but we'll take it. All right, looks like we are making it to the end, as Copilot is offering also some suggestive action items for us as it concludes. So now the Copilot has concluded and is generated. It is giving me a few items that it suggests, that saying, hey, a few details will help me customize this perfectly. As I referenced earlier, I told you guys I did leave out a few details that probably could have personalized this for Copilot to shape this policy based off of what they know about how regulations and things like that, it looks like, are managed already. So Copilot is using its own background knowledge to give me its own suggestions. But instead, I have my own prompt ready to load to say, hey, instead, I just need you to add more information on support limitations and clear employee or user responsibility. So with that in mind, we're going to allow Copilot to now generate an additional section about support limitations and clear employee information. And the main thing I want to point out is that instead of Copilot redoing my entire BYOD policy, it's saying, hey, no, you're going to keep what we have here at the top, and we're just going to create you or add on now what you consider this new section about some limitations and user responsibility, and you can choose to add that on. As we talked about earlier, one of the features, which was pages, that is going to be very useful with this, because you're like, oh, well, you're getting all this information. Well, what are you going to do with it? Well, what I might use to do with this information is right below is choose to, one, you could copy this information if you would like. And you may say, I'm just going to paste this into a Microsoft Word document. Or like I said, Pages works very well. Pages is going to allow you to edit these items right here in a one-stop shop. So the Pages icon is going to be this pencil icon that appears and it says Edit in Pages, and you're going to be able to open. It's going to open in a shared view, and you can see it's a split screen for this conversation. And now my prompt is here on the left. But now that prompt that I was just working on, and I want to be specific, it's not both the previous conversation that we just had, but it is the new prompt with the shared responsibilities and limitations that is going to open here. And it opens here for me to edit and make changes to. And I'm able to click within. You can see I can type. And this is going to, one, take the format and structure that I would like, so I don't have to do any adjusting and editing to the format and structure. I can go in and choose to insert additional tables, checklists, a bulleted date, calendar, little things like that, so that I have additional formatting and structure that might fit. But also in the top right corner, I want to go ahead and point out the options to share and get it over to other M365 products or collaborate with others. To point that out briefly, you have the option to, one, get a link to access this page. And now you would allow, and it's going to be, once again, a link that you're going to be able to share with others. And so if you wanted to keep this in Pages, perfectly fine. And you would have a link to this page for you to collaborate with others. Or, as you know, The other option in the top right corner, aside from the page link, was copy component. And you are able to go ahead and now have this option to copy this component. And when it says copy component, it is going to be an option for you to embed and provide access to this in a supported M365 app. And that M365 app will be considered Microsoft Word. So that is going to be your option. But of course, like I said, the idea is that you have a one-stop shop. We want you to be here and you can say, hey, all right, I'm just going to continue to edit this now in Pages and do what I do best from here. I don't need to go to Word. I don't have to go to Word because I can collaborate. I can share this with other colleagues and users from here. You can close this out. And like I said, you are able to access it later from the Library tab and go to your Pages as well. When we close it out, you can see here that it creates a conversation with Copilot, letting you know that, hey, right here, you have access to this information. For my last prompt before we go back into the presentation is going to be, we want to go ahead and clean up that BYOD policy that we just had. So this time around, now we're going to go in and we're going to say, hey, you created this example, you've given us all these ideas, we're going to add an attachment. So like I said, I've attached an IT policy this time. We're going to choose one by either using our / key on our keyboard, or you're going to use your plus symbol within the prompt text box. We're still in the same conversation. We didn't start a new one because we're still talking about that same BYOD policy. And this time we're going to say, based on the attachment now, rewrite this policy, but add on additional policies and sections that include information such as data privacy or cloud services. We'll allow Copilot to do its thing, such as rewriting the policy and using now what is an attached document as a reference and a resource. It'll generate and might take a moment just because we know our first one had a good little moment of generation. But this time around, it now has something to specifically go off of. The good part about it is that when it does do this generation, we have given Copilot permission to view this specific document that we've attached, but it's only for this chat, not for everything in our cloud. And when we attach a reference, Copilot is no longer guessing about what its boundaries are or what we've clearly defined everything. As you can see with that previous conversation, I had to go back and do some cleanup and I had to say, hey, add this section. Instead, I'm going to say, follow this document, use this document to evaluate and add information. And so this attachment acts like a guardrail. Copilot now has the opportunity to stay on track and avoid overgeneralizing. So with this opportunity for Copilot to create and generate, we are going to get some tailored feedback. It should have specific details from our document. It should hopefully include the now company's name instead of, as you know, at the first example, it just said BYOD policy and things like that. I know we are at time, so I want to be mindful of that. I'll let Copilot generate in the background as I close us out. I want to thank you guys for joining. And once again, as our organization, we have helped so many people launch Copilot with confidence. So if there's something that our team or planner can do to help you, please feel free to reach out to us. We'd love to see what your options are. As we close out, you should see another feedback poll appear on your screen. And once again, our contact information is going to be placed in the chat. And if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, feel free to stick around to ask those questions at this time. And just to briefly show, as everybody is exiting, this is exactly what our output produced. We were successful in getting a BYOD policy that was very specific and tailored to our organization's name, its purpose, and it looks like it is more detailed. So once again, it did look like we concluded on the right track of making sure we were able to see how a generalized approach does succeed once we start tailoring in and adding in more details and references. So thank you again for joining. And if there are any questions, the floor is still open at this time.